All right, I am back for another video. Today we're going to do a little challenge. It's been pretty breezy today, and I have a milk jug sitting down here in front of my target at 800 yards. It is windy enough and sunny enough to give us quite a bit of mirage, which you can see in the target view. So that has a little bit of a challenge to it, but I want to show you what kind of effect the wind can have on your bullet at these kind of distances, or potentially how hard is it to hit a milk jug at 800 yards on windy days. Before I do, I've been getting the question a fair amount: what do you do? What kind of gun you shooting? What kind of rifle do you put together? Like, what do you prefer? Blah blah blah. This is a Sequence Precision rifle. It's their Havoc line. I found this rifle is super hard to beat for the money that you pay for, and what I do is I buy all the components that you need to put a complete package together, so a complete shooting system, and I'll do custom loads for every rifle. Every rifle comes with custom loads that shoots half MOA or better, and I'll validate it to distance, and then I will program a rangefinder, typically a SIG kilo rangefinder. This is the 8K. I'll program this. This does your ballistics for you. It takes the barometric pressure, it takes your altitude, it takes your angles, it takes everything that you need to take into account for, including the spin, the Coriolis effect of the earth. It takes everything into account and gives you the true MOA that you need to dial, the minute of angle that you need to dial on your scope. So it's as simple as pulling up, taking a range. It'll tell you dial at 800 yards. I'll tell you. Tells me to dial 12.68. So I simply just pull up here and I'm going to dial 12.68. The closest is 12.75 or 12.5. You can round up or round down. Some of my customers don't want to spend this money, 1,500 bucks. I highly encourage it because it's much faster than looking at charts. But I do develop charts. Here's 5 different charts. I got one at 1,000 feet. I got one at 10,000, 8,000, 6,000, and 4,000. So, and it all makes a difference. So for this rifle at 1,000 feet, which is about this elevation, if I was shooting 1,000 yards, it calls for 19.7 minutes of angle, which is 206 inches of drop. If we were going to go to Colorado and go to the mountains, that same shot would be 15.7 MOA and 164 inches of drop. So it matters. So I do that. I'll develop this chart, put this together. If somebody just wants to use a rangefinder they have already and just look at, you think you have time to look at charts, that's a cheaper way to go, but definitely not the efficient way to go, but it works. If you do get the rangefinder, I always do include the charts just for backup. If something happens, you lose your rangefinder while you're on a hunt or whatever, the charts do give you something to back up. So I'll take all of the above, I'll put it in a box, and I'll ship it to wherever you live, to your local gun shop, and you can go do the paperwork there. So I just take all the work out of it for long range shooters and long range hunters, and put the whole package together. All right, let's start shooting. The wind kind of died now, so this might not be the greatest wind test we've ever done, but let's do it. All right, so we have this target at 800, almost 800, and it is very hard to see the bottle, the jug in the target camera. It is just off the right side of the bullseye. I stuck it on a T-post about 10 feet in front of the target so that if we miss it, the splatters don't actually pop the jug. And I am off center a little bit of where I put it, but that's where it's at. Just right of what you could probably see as the red or the orange dot in the center. It is very sunny and just enough wind to create a lot of mirage and a lot of distortion. And we're gonna give it our best shot. Let's do it. because we're doing a wind drift video, I'm going to hold dead up on the first shot. I think it's going to hit left. All right, I'll have to review the footage, but that first shot took the jug out at 800 yards, so that wasn't much of a wind test. But what I want to do is I'm going to shoot a group on that orange dot, and I'm going to shoot a group on that orange dot, and we'll drive down there and I'll show you our left and rights. All right, the wind's picked up now. All right, I'm gonna give this some time between shots just to have some change. If I just shoot 3 shots pretty quickly, there's a pretty good chance we don't have much changing in wind and we can get a decent group. And we might still, but we're gonna do a little test. I'll give it a minute and see if we can't get some wind to pick up or lay down. We unhung the gong, so it makes it a little difficult to shoot and see where we're actually hitting compared to the other shots, and I don't want to shoot another one in there without, we'll not know what shots were what because I can't see my impacts. Let's drive down there and take a look at it. So a really big thing with wind is it can be really easy to allow yourself to trust the wind that you're feeling where you're sitting and where you're shooting from. But the wind that makes the biggest difference on your shot is the wind that's closer to your target, or at least halfway to your target, because your bullet is going the slowest from halfway, from the last half than the first half, just physics, it's slowing down. And so it's spending more time there, so the wind's gonna affect that the most. So the wind that I'm feeling up here might not actually be the wind that we have down there. I'm kind of shooting down into a tight corner, and where I'm sitting is a lot more open. So you really want to pay attention to what the wind's doing halfway to your target or closer to your target. On a day like today, you can see mirage. I can see the heat waves as the wind's blowing them around, and you can learn to read those. I actually think I have a video on that on the channel. If you want to look that up, you can learn to read the heat waves and read the wind like that. If you can't see the heat waves, it might be an overcast day, and you can't see that, then you're going to want to look at, maybe grass, vegetation, leaves, branches, trees, whatever you can find. Sometimes you have pollen blowing in the air. Whatever you can find that is some kind of wind indicator for you, and get to know, go out and practice in these situations. Go out and practice in the wind, and then you'll get to know that what you can trust and what you can't trust. And it's really hard if you don't shoot in the wind a lot. It's really hard to go out there and find a deer You know, go out west and find a mule deer across the canyon somewhere at 600-700 yards and it's a little breezy. It can be really hard and just feel wrong to hold that crosshairs where it actually needs to be to let that bullet do some drifting. So I would tell you, learn all you can learn about that. All right, let's take a look at our gong. All right, so we are down here at the target. That shot was the jug. The jug was hanging off the center. The jug was hanging over here on my view from where I was shooting. It just happened I have the jug in front of the target here, and it just lined up. It was lined up a little bit off. The jug was sitting here. This shot popped the jug. The shot on the jug was just low, about a third of the way up from the bottom of the jug. Looked like it was about dead center, a third of the way up. And then I pulled over here and I shot these two shots holding on what I could, as you know, on the center, as good as I could on the center of that bullseye. It was really hard to see. You just kind of see a little orange spot there. So, but I have two shots there. This shot here, if I was shooting for this same spot, not the jug, this shot would have moved over to somewhere in here. So we have about an 8-inch, these are 16-inch wide plates. We have about an 8-inch spread left and right with wind, and our vertical is about 3 inches vertical up and down on the difference there. At this distance, 800 yards, I consider anything around 4 inches or less to be very acceptable, especially on a day like today where you have a lot of mirage and it's hard to see. Now, these I think would all have been kill shots for sure on a big game animal like an elk. And I think even on a deer, these would have, you know, if you were holding center lung and the deer was faced to our left here, you'd still be towards the back of the lung on that shot. I think every shot would be a kill shot. But here's a tip that I want to give you on judging and gauging wind. Is if you think it's a 10 mile an hour, for example, in this scenario, think that it's a 10 mile an hour wind and you know that it is at least a 10 mile an hour wind. And it could be a 12 or 15 mile an hour wind. Instead of actually holding dead up in the center, maybe holding center lung on that deer, let's say the deer's facing left, the wind's blowing from left to right. Instead of holding just center lung and, you know, risking the fact that you're guessing perfectly on the wind, you might know this could drift for a 15 mile an hour wind. So instead of holding center lung, hold that what you think might be 10 mile an hour wind, hold it further forward on his shoulder maybe. And if you hit right behind your crosshairs, you're totally happy with that. You'll drop him. And if you happen to have a 15 mile an hour wind and you judged it off, then you're not drifting as far back into that animal. So there's little things like that you can do that's just making smart choices and still shooting the same shot. That choice, the only difference was you chose to hold forward. Had I shot these shots at deer, this shot would have been perfect. This shot here, if I'd have been holding center lung, I would have taken out the top of the heart. This shot, if I'd have been holding center of the lung, I would have taken out the back of the lung. But had I held front of the shoulder, this shot would have went right on the shoulder. This shot would have still hit pretty much heart. This shot here would have center lunged him. So every one of those shots would have been premium shots at 800 yards if I would have made a decision off of what I just explained. I hope this helps. See you at the next video.